Hello, I think I am finally set up now. So, today we're talking about self care. And the reason I am painting while we're talking about self care is what I'm painting is actually a journal cover. And in part, that's what I do for self care. If you've not been at my channel before, let me introduce myself. My name is Dawn Marie of Doree's Designs, and I create art with heart. Now, self-care has always been pretty difficult for me until just recently. I was always a caregiver. I did child care for 24 years, and I loved it. It was fantastic. So I was really used to taking care of children. I took care of my late spouse and always made sure that his needs were met. But when it came to caring for myself, for whatever reason, I put myself on the back burner. And I've learned, with a little bit of age and understanding, that that's probably not the best thing to do. So what I started doing, actually during the beginning of the pandemic, was I started meditating. For one, that was the first part of my practice. And meditation did not come easy at first. If you are somebody that meditates, please let me know below. I'm very impressed because it took me a very long time to do that. I was approached by a couple of my meditating friends to try yoga. Now that's actually something I'm really interested in, but I've tried it a couple times and I don't know. I can't get the hang of it. I would really, really love to hear if anybody's got any insight into doing yoga, because I think that it would be wonderful. Well, I started out doing just light meditation, a couple minutes here and there, and I found that I really started to really enjoy it. I craved it. It was fabulous. And it actually gave me more clarity when I was creating. So then I decided to start writing down the things that I was, coming up with a clearer mind after I would meditate. Now, I've always journaled in one form or another. I had a diary as a kid, complete with the little lock that anybody could pick, I'm sure. And wrote, my little heart's desires. I often get a kick out of going back and looking at the things that I thought were important back in 1985. That my hair would stand up, because, you had to have big hair back then. And that hair made me have a good extra 3 inches. I loved the 80s because I'm rather vertically challenged. So, but this kind of journaling I was talking about was more of like a soul search, more of like a soul pouring. After my husband passed away, I was left to rebuild my entire life. Everything that I had known, all of the plans that we had were gone in the blink of an eye, and I was left floundering. I had promised him that I would go on and live for both of us. So laying in bed all day long was just not an option, because I truly believed that would be breaking a promise to him, which is something that I had never done and I wasn't about to start. So I needed to come up with some way for self-care. One of my children was still a minor at the time. I had to do healthier things. And, I would read, self-help books, the whole thing. I had joined a support group for young widows. I was 45, actually, that day. Frank passed away on my birthday. I turned 45 that day, and so I was a pretty young widow. this support group was absolutely fantastic. In fact, one of my best friends is a member of the group, and we met through that group, and she's been a godsend to me. So, through all of this, I have learned that self-care is definitely something I need to do. Super, super important to keeping my everyday concerns on track. So, you're when you're going through that kind of stuff, you're kind of wondering, like, well, what is self-care? Like I said, I tried the yoga thing. I really want to be able to do it. For whatever reason, I really, really struggle with it. And then I started doing the meditation, and that turned into me doing journaling. And I am the type, if I'm going to sit down and pour my heart and soul into something, it has to be something that is pretty or that speaks to me. If this is something that you agree with, please drop a 1 for me and let me know that I'm not the only one that feels this way. So it's important. And that's when I started really getting into making journals, covers, and these kinds of things for people. Because I want it to be special. I want it to speak to you. Now, the deal with the feathers here, Frank was a very tiny bit Cherokee, and he was very, very proud of that part of his lineage and heritage, and he really loved the color blue. He actually picked our wedding color. He wanted blue. And it was a sapphire blue. And one day I was just doodling, as I do, and I started coming up with feathers, very, very similar to this, except I did a Zentangle. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's basically doodling. So I doodled inside of these feathers and came up with a picture, and then I painted it a sapphire blue, and I was very pleased with it. And ever since then, feathers kind of are a little nod to Frank and his heritage and what that meant to him. I have people who want angels or the goddess or a cross or a beach scene. Part of self-care for me is curling my feet into the sand. Now, being in the middle of the country as I am, I don't get to go to the beach like I did when I was an East Coast kiddo, but every chance that I get, I do. That's another form of self-care. Some of the self-care that I do is something simple as painting my nails. Obviously, they're not done right now, but I really enjoy sitting and painting my nails. I actually have that on my calendar to do in the next 2 days, so I'm excited about that. It's just a simple little thing for me. I enjoy taking long, warm tubbies and just relaxing. Music has always been part of my self-care. I have playlists for, if I'm sad, if I'm happy. Empowerment playlist, which is one I play the most often, I think. I even have one called Blues Be Gone. But self-care I really have come to understand how important it is. If we don't take care of us, we're not going to be able to be a service to anyone else. And for me, that's important. I want to give back. I want to be part of something important. I don't want to just, muddle through life taking and never giving. And if I have nothing left, if my bucket is empty, I've got nothing left to give others. And that's, that's sad. My artwork is definitely a way I try to give to others. I have made angel wing ornaments for people that are varying stages of grief. And when they tell me that I've captured what they wanted to remember about their loved one, it means a lot to me. It's not just slapping stuff together. It's very much trying to get to know the person that they're trying to remember through their story and through their vision of what they want these angel wings to look like. And I will be showing you some angel wings at another time. Today I really wanted to just talk about self-care. Creating, that's another self-care for me. I always have a sketchbook with me and a pencil at the very least. I travel with watercolors. I have a whole bag that I take everywhere I go with, and even if I'm just going out for the afternoon, everywhere I go that has, art supplies in it, because I never know what's going to spark my interest or get me, inspired to draw or paint or whatever it may be. So I would really love to hear what you guys think of self-care, if it's something that you've made time for. Did the pandemic make that better, or were you taking less time for yourself? I found that I it was a necessity. I had to take time for myself. My youngest child was moving out, and I was an empty nester in the blink of an eye, and that was really difficult. We're very, very close, and luckily we get to talk every single day. But that was hard, and I didn't get to see my oldest child and my grandchild and my daughter-in-law for Christmas like I do every single year. So it was a struggle in the beginning, but I look at it now and think in some ways that was a gift, because I got to do a lot of healing. Grief comes in waves, and you think you've done a hurdle and okay, I'm done now, I'm good, I've done my pain. Well, it's little things can creep up. When my son had his first child, she was born the day before my husband passed away, and he had been really, really looking forward to being a grandfather. That was a little thing there. Every time there is a milestone that he's not here for, it's something to, all the joyful things once in a while become kind of, there's always that shadow. But through my self-care, I've learned to overcome a lot of that stuff. And like I said, it was this way during the pandemic. I figured out some ways of being gentle with myself and giving myself some grace. And I think that that's, something that's fantastic. And I like to share that journey with other people. If you're struggling, if you have sadness, if you're just feeling very, very stressed, take a little bit of time to think about some self-care. Even if it's a 2-minute meditation, or you're scratching something down on a piece of paper, whatever it may be, you need to do that for yourself. And if anything that I can do helps that, I'm very, very happy about that. I'm going to continue to do some painting here and continue with my self-care, and I will be back another time. If you've watched this on repeat, please let me know. I do answer all my comments, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Bye.